So last night, we watched the results trickle in for the Jess Scarane race, which was actually not really the results trickling in. It pretty much came in all at once. The
Yeah,
loss was called
unfortunately.
for Chris Coons, the incumbent senator, who was, of course, an established, pretty, long time, not long time, but ever since the
About a
Biden,
decade.
yeah, about a decade now. So he's definitely a, established Democrat. Uh, Pretty powerful in the caucus, and I think that's ultimately part of the reason he hung on to his seat tonight. He hasn't been involved in any like high profile scandals or anything recently, so I just think the advantage of incumbency plus money, plus the pandemic, Jessica Rain, it would have taken a minor miracle to take her over to for her to win.
Yeah, and as a first-time candidate, it's so hard to have the name
Yeah,
recognition of especially somebody like Chris Coons, who's going to be breaking in massive amounts of big pharma money, money from super PACs,
yeah,
Blue Dog super PACs, able to put his ads all over the TV airwaves. I mean, Jessica Rain raised $300,000 in grassroots, people funded
yep,
money, and she had a real message and a real platform, and it definitely did resonate with a lot of Delaware voters. Unfortunately, when you're going up against the establishment like that, a lot of times it takes multiple
yeah,
tries, and the same way that it took Cory Bush, a tremendous
hmm,
candidate who really did have roots in the community as an activist, who people were familiar with. Even it took her multiple times to unseat
Lacey Clay, yeah,
Lacey Clay, who had, and before Lacey Clay, it had been Lacey Clay's father,
hmm,
just this dynasty in St. Louis that had represented the district. So when you're going up against that name recognition, a lot of times it does take multiple runs for office. And I
yep,
think that we definitely see Jessica Rain run again, whether that's for Senate or
yeah.
House or another
And
position.
Jess Scarane was endorsed by brand new Congress, but she was not endorsed by Justice Democrats, who apparently has like scaled back their operations a little bit as far as their funding. They didn't want to become spread too thin. She wasn't endorsed by Bernie Sanders or AOC. She kind of was left out to dry by most of the big, endorsees that could have, raised the profile of her race in a meaningful way and boosted her, donations and volunteer work and all of that. So, you have to feel a little bit bad for her that she didn't really get that support that she could have really used to help carry her over the top. But, she did run a great campaign, like you said, and I think she totally has a future in politics in the left. And when I was reacting to the live results coming in last night with Kamali Rose over at the Radical Democracy,
Shout out to
um,
Radical Democracy,
yeah,
and thanks for having us both on the live stream last night.
yeah, we had a great time on his show. Check it out if you haven't. But something he informed me of that I was had no idea about was actually apparently there's kind of this unspoken or weird like rule in Delaware called like the Delaware Way, which is basically that it's like impolite or not cool to primary incumbents, which of course is already
What
the
horse
Democratic.
shit?
I
How
know,
undemocratic
yeah, and of
and
course that's already the philosophy in the Democratic Party, but it's even more so in Delaware. Apparently, going back to some one random race where a incumbent was primaried, and then someone from the other party ended up beating whoever the insurgent was. So it kind of instilled this weird philosophy in Delawareans. And you couple with that the fact that Delaware is a pretty small state. It doesn't have a huge urban activist center in it. It just Jess
I mean, it
Scarane
doesn't have
didn't
any
really
major
have.
cities at all.
Exactly, yeah. So Jess didn't really have that kind of base of activism and volunteer, all that kind of stuff that maybe Corey benefited from in St. Louis, or someone like Joel Bowman benefited from in New York City. This was definitely a tougher state to galvanize a progressive movement in, I think.
I mean, Joe Biden served for
Yeah,
30 years as their senator.
I
I
guess that
mean,
proves the don't primary incumbent thing.
yeah, that's what I was thinking too. I mean, it was the early 70s, right up until the time that Obama was inaugurated. He was the senator of Delaware. I mean, a huge span of time, especially by like today's political
Yeah,
standards for a senator.
yeah.
Um, yeah, it definitely unfortunate, obviously, the way that it turned out. However,
Mhm.
I think we see more from Jessica Rain, and
Yeah,
I think that over the coming years, the Delaware, I think, could definitely become a place for a
yeah,
progressive W as the tide turns away from it being, a credit card kind
yeah.
of capitalist tax loophole havens.
Honestly, if it weren't for the political stuff going on in Delaware, it's one of those states that I consistently just forget about. Like,
Yeah.
you know what I'm saying? Before Joe Biden really re-entered the public mainstream, his connection to Delaware, made me remember its existence. But previous to that, it was one of the states that I consistently, forgot about just because it's so small and you never hear
it's
about
like Connecticut,
news.
you know?
Yeah, kind of like Connecticut, exactly. One of those states. Anyway, Jess Scarane has definitely made the progressives in Delaware proud, and I hope she's not taking the L too hard.
Yeah, I don't want to say I'm sure she saw this coming, but I just imagine that when you're running a progressive insurgent campaign, like you have to understand, like you're climbing an uphill mountain and you're not going to get the W on the first try many times, especially what people always have to remember is like in the case of like AOC, where it was just like a complete curveball, like Joe Crowley was not anticipating that.
No.
And now the Democrats are a lot more vigilant. They're a lot more on their toes. Chris Coons, while he wasn't really saying anything, he was, advertising and, he
had a lot of money.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. And also, I mean, Bernie had to run like many times before he ever got elected to office. I think.
And he ran for way smaller positions than Senate. I mean, he was the mayor of Burlington for a long time.
Exactly. Positions he had to run for many times. So yeah,
it wasn't until the early 2000s that he even got into the Senate as an independent. So
exactly.
Or mid. Exactly. I don't know how you would describe that time period. Or mid early 2000s. Yeah. I was thinking it was like 2005.
Somewhere around then. Yeah, because he was in the House before that, right?